30 days. Can you believe it? We've done this for 30 days in a row. This has been a wild ride. I'm really glad you guys went with me on this journey. This was a fun exercise and really re-energized me creatively, so I had a lot of fun with it. Let's just wrap it up. Hey everybody, here we are, day 30. It is the final day of our 30-day world building challenge. We're going to talk about some like the cartography and like how mapped out the world is, which spoiler, I think it is very mapped out, except for one dark evil region. And we're going to talk about where to go from here. So a lot of us are now at the very end, and if you are, if you're like me, you kind of thought maybe we would have a whole finished thing that you could use to just run around and do everything. And although I do feel like I have a campaign setting done, and that I can, I could start a game tomorrow if I really wanted to, I would have to continue to prep, and that prep would then define and build the world as I go. But I understand where the races fit in. I understand relationships with other countries and stuff. And I understand magic and how it's viewed. So we're going to jump over to Notion and do our final 2 exercises and then talk about where do we go from here. So let's dive in. Hi, everybody. It's early. Doing this early to have the rest of the evening to do some writing on another project because I can't not be busy, apparently. Day 30. We did it. We're here. Let's dive in. So, oddly enough, today's world building challenge, if we go all the way down to day 30, you probably saw this. Last day, it says, take a break. No exercise, just reflect back on your world before you start writing, before we start diving in and really getting to our novel, which we're not making. But if you also go all the way down here, there is a magical world builder section. And that's what I have open here. So I read through this, and I think this is a good place for us to end with the web writer. Going through all of this text, it asks some really good questions about magic levels and NPCs and things like that. And it specifically calls out D&D a few times, saying, you know, D&D's magic system is a lot like this. And if you are creating, or specifically, I think they kind of dislike the D&D worlds because they are so tropic. Like there are the paladin and the rogue and the bard. And you can't be as experimental with magic because the system is so defined already and the fighting is so defined. Like you are a paladin, you are this. And this is also why we have other types of RPGs. You know, if I want to play a cyberpunk game, I'm going to pick a cyberpunk style, you know, RPG, i.e. cyberpunk. If I'm going to play a fantasy RPG, there are other ones that I would like to touch on. And there are RPGs out there that have tried to do everything. You know, hey, we want to be the one and only RPG that you could play any genre in whatsoever. You know, Cypher comes to mind, and I mean, there's so many. The D6 system that I'm studying right now wanted to do that. And then there's a lot of people that want to take D&D and use that system that they know to play other things. Like, can I take D&D 5e and turn it into superheroes? You know, and it's interesting, but I am a firm believer that there are certain mechanics within the world of D&D that work great for a fantasy role-playing setting. Not to say you couldn't convert that to something else, but if I'm playing a Lovecraftian horror game, I want to use Call of Cthulhu because that was specifically generated or specifically created for that type of game. And if I want to play superheroes, I want to play Masks or something like that was kind of designed around superheroes. And I would encourage you that it's also fun to just learn a new system. As far as the campaign settings within Dungeons and Dragons, many of them are fantasy. Eberron, I mean, all of them are fantasy, but Eberron has mechanical elements. And so I think if you want to play in that world, in that, or I should say, use that skeleton structure of the game mechanics and then build a world using that, that's kind of what we did. And I think that is appropriate. I am not trying to play zombie survival horror with D&D 5e mechanics. I wanted to use those mechanics in a different way. So tieflings are different in my world. Goblins are there, but different. And specifically going over this, she was talking about, here are some stereotypical fantasy beings. Goblins, they're mischievous, they're pranksters. They are rarely a serious threat. What if we took that statement and said they are the threat to the known world? I think that makes it interesting. So going over this, there was a lot of good questions to have, and I would encourage you to read that as well. But it was a lot about like how do you name certain things and things like that. When I got to reference books, it really made me think of the Kobold Guide to World Building PDF that I've mentioned earlier. And so our final step is we're going to look at that. But before we do, let's answer, are the lands cartographed and where are the boundaries? So that's our question for today. And if we go to our maps, our locations, then we will see the database load. And will we see that, yes, they are mapped out, major mountains and stuff. I think I need to very much figure out trees in these areas and this area over here, Demonitis, yes. So I need to figure out the areas over here with Demonitis and stuff. But the one that I don't want to define is Sincerestus. He is the Lich, the undead one. And I think this area is going to be like a black sand desert. Like he sucked the life out of this area. And so there aren't animals, there aren't nice villages of people. There are the remnants of that catastrophe. I don't know, lots of stuff to think of. But to answer the question, yes, for the most part, it is mapped out. We know where things are. The mystery is going to be under the ocean. And the mystery will also be to the player. Because maps exist, but the player is being force-fed propaganda, so they don't know what this area is. They don't know that Medea runs this area and that she is just as powerful as Domitica. And there are things like that. So I think that's the fun for the player, is to run around and experience all of that. So yeah, short answer, yes. Now, our take a break, I wanted to talk about, I was reading the Kobold Guide to World Building. And it has a bunch of essays by really awesome people. And I was going through a lot of these, and I haven't read this cover to cover yet, but I will. I think this is my next reading project. I finished reading a couple of other books, and I want to start this one next. But what caught my eye is this: how to write a world Bible, how to keep it all straight. So this is written by Scott Hungerford, sorry. And so he says, when I was worked at WizKids games on brands like all of Mage Knight and they would have a 200,000 word draft document that was an organized world Bible of information for agents and licensors and things like that. People who wanted to take, could I take this and do something with it? But I think it helps us as well, and that's what he's insinuating in here, to just keep it all in your mind. So going forward in this, if you're making your own RPG sourcebook, if you're writing short stories, or even working up a wealth of source material for a string of novels, World Bibles are a great way to help you organize information about large groups of characters, plots, and monsters into a manageable reference guide. While some of us might be lucky enough to see our work on the big screen, it's good to have this. So, a good world building living document is not going to stay the same a few weeks at a time. And I was thinking about our Notion database that I've been creating. That's kind of what I've created, but now that I know that it's called a World Bible and that I need to refine it, and there are also no concretes in this, and that we just need to play and experiment and see what happens with it. But as you go over your World Bible, you notice the inconsistencies, or you notice that you need to fully understand some aspect of it. And then you write that and you fill in those gaps, and plot holes be gone. So World Bible sections. Section 1, the world. What is the name of the world? What is the introduction to your world? Races and cultures within your world, magic and technology, and then currency and economy. So these are all great things to talk about. Section 2, the cast of characters. I want to just write up as many NPCs as I can, so I have them, and then I will sprinkle them where needed, I think is what I want to do. And as I play the game, I will also probably create more NPCs, but I like the idea of having these major characters. And I say major, they could be powerful kings, or they could be the guy that runs the local tavern that helps them out. But major in the sense that they are important to the players. And just get some silly voices and get some motivation for those characters, and have that entire background cast that I'm able to move about in my game. And then finally, the appendices. So timelines and histories. I really need to hammer that down. And if there was any like major catastrophe, which there was, and I need to fully understand what that is, or leave it up to other people to decipher. Cartography. Making a map. We've made a map. We're ahead of the game. And then glossary of key terms. So this was good. It was just a short little essay, but it kind of gave me the idea of where I'm going next with this. And I think that involves playing in Endegair. That involves creating stories in Endegair, whether it be with my friends or me recounting the history of certain big battles and things like that. So my next goal for all of this is build a world Bible. And I'm doing really good. Okay. So we have, I've got a lot of stuff like layout, outlines, and definitions could be my glossary. I've got, a bunch of interesting, I've got a bunch of stuff here. Between mechanics that I want to introduce, and I will delete some and add some others, but I think we got a good start on this, so I'm excited. Endegair will not fade away. We will be actively playing games in it in some capacity. I will be playing games in it in some capacity. And when I first started the YouTube channel, I was doing campaign diaries. Couldn't think of the word. I was doing some campaign diaries on my games at the table, because I didn't have the production quality or cameras and microphones, basically. I didn't have the equipment to actually record our D&D sessions, nor did I have the time to really edit them and clean them up and stuff. So for early on, I was doing like, hey, this is what we played last night, and this is what, like me as a DM, I was confronted with this, and I didn't know how to handle it, so I made this decision. What would you have done? And I thought it was important to make these because people would comment that they're like, it's nice to know that there are other dungeon masters out there who don't really know what they're doing sometimes. And so that was fun. Going forward, if I do run games in Endegair, I think I'll try to bring those back. And maybe once or twice a month, I can do an update on this is what's happening in Endegair, and this is where I am going with the world and changing things up. Questions? Let me know in comments below. I'm excited, and I hope your challenge goes well as well. I hope your challenge goes fantastic as well. I had a lot of fun. We're gonna do a live stream New Year's Eve. I don't know the exact time, but subscribe to the channel, turn on alerts, and you will be notified when I go live this December the 31st, which is tomorrow, sometime in the evening. And stay awesome. Thanks, everybody. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad I did it. A video every day for 30 days. Happy Vlogmas. Be excellent to each other. And I will see you in 2021.